Hello, my friends. I want to share a little bit about what it's like to see from outside of the illusion. And I'm by no means claiming that I am totally seeing outside of the illusion. But I'm noticing for a while, that there is this gap that's happening more and more. I have noticed this gap for many, many, many years, but there's something that is changing in a way that I have not experienced before. And it's not like a big bang explosion at all. It's very subtle, but it's like it's just there. It's so clear as an experience that I really want to share some of that. So, as we're living in and as the illusion, as the veil, I'm seeing that the veil is just this thing. It's an impersonal thing. It really doesn't have anything to do with us, but it because it's like I talked about, it's like paint. It's like a layer of paint over us or a very tight skin. That means that when we look out, we can only see the skin. And the things that this illusion is making us experience is all the discomfort and all the suffering and the anxiety and the inner drive to do something in or with the veil or to get rid of the veil. This is all part of the package of the veil. And that's why it's it's mostly impossible. I'm not fully saying that. Let me just first say you cannot get out of the veil by using veil techniques or ways that the veil functions. It's just adding. See, it's the energy from the veil that's trying to where you're trying to get rid of it or change it, but you're using the energy of the veil. That means you are feeding it, you're engaging in it, you are resisting it, whatever way we do it. So it's still all veil energy, or shall we say, the skin energy. And it's probably not going to change much. You might move things around so that you feel better, absolutely. And we all do that and have done that, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if we don't take the next step, then we are still simply part of the veil where we feel like we're separate from the divine, we're separate from the oneness, we're this little single drop outside of the ocean trying to make ends meet. The thing that we need to do, of course, is let the drop fall back into the ocean. So trying to fix the veil or the matrix with matrix or veil modalities is not going to work. But what I have seen in my lifetime, and you may have too, that it can be very helpful to soften our grip to the matrix, our attachments, our identity, so we can do something. And I think it's worth our time to do whatever it takes to just, it's almost like you work your way out to the edge of the veil because you've been so identified, you didn't even know there was anything else. And that's why you didn't even think about moving away. But as you do, deep inner work, meditation, breathing techniques, plant medicine, there's so much out there. And I probably don't know most of it, but there is a lot available. So we can loosen our grip. And I think, of course, self-love is a very strong grip loosener or softener. And that's been part of my journey as well as many other things. So at some point, your grip is lessening and lessening. And then you can actually, it's like you come to the edge. And that's when we can let go. That's when we surrender into the unknown outside of the veil. We don't know what's outside of the veil because we have only been focusing and identified with it. So there is a lot of value in doing the work inside of the veil with veil techniques, whatever they are. But we have to be very aware that we do not get stuck or identified with, okay, I have changed this part of the veil now and I feel good. So now I'm going to relax. At some point, life will also push us to let that go because we have to come to the edge and let go. That's when we start finding the freedom in being who we are. When you are in that veil, and we all are, right? The whole world is fully identified and engaged in the veil. Right now, there is a lot of activity, shall we call it, in the veil, and many people are putting a lot of energy back into it because of their emotions and their anger and all these things. So, what I saw the other day, yesterday, I think it was, that this veil, it's like it's a separate thing. It has nothing to do with you and me. It's just that we're just experiencing it through the veil because it's so tight. But when when something happens in the world, in the veil, everything is impacted by it. Everything. So what's going on with, politics today? Let's say a big thing happening over here, everything, the whole world is impacted by it, consciously or unconsciously, because it is one thing. If it happens here, it happens everywhere. And that reminds me of that saying, I think if a butterfly flies in Japan or something, the whole world is impacted by it. That's a sweet poetic way of saying it. But what I sensed yesterday was really like there is nothing that can happen anywhere. So let's say big thing happened here politically and everything. So here you are on this side of the globe and you are very upset about what's happening here because what happened here, it's 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 reverberating through the whole veil. And then you get upset about it, and then that sends another energy through the whole veil. And that's how it is. So everybody right now is super engaged in the veil with strong emotions, strong attachments, a lot of fear, a lot of rebellion, a lot of anger. And just imagine how much we feed this veil or the matrix because of that. And so really what we're doing is just making it grow even bigger. I also saw it yesterday as it's almost like it felt like a sweater, a knitted sweater. The veil is a knitted sweater, and we are all wearing that sweater. So if somebody over here pulls on one of the strings or the what is it called from the fabric, everything in the sweater is impacted by, you pull a little stronger and then it tightens over here and then these people over here feel really uncomfortable and they get upset and that means they tighten it up and then everybody's going to feel it. I don't know if this metaphor works for you, but it was just what I saw yesterday. So as long as we're all wearing this sweater unconsciously and are fully identified with it, we're all just pulling the strings everywhere. Everybody's pulling strings and it stays alive. That is what keeps the matrix going. You and I engaging in it. Okay. So how can we change that? Well, you probably know, but it's not, I've talked a lot about this in the past, at least. Do not touch it. It's the emotional reactions and identities that make us engage. So the practice is to learn how to be with these emotions from the inside so that they can transform and transmute. It's like the drop it can drop back into the ocean and just be at peace. So that is the work that we all need to do. And we are being pushed to the edge to do the work. Not everybody understands that. And some people may feel the push is so strong that they might react even more. So maybe more pressure is going to be put on it. That probably is probably happening anyway. And then at some point, we have to say, okay, I surrender. This is madness, madness. And then we start surrendering, and then we let go of our engagement in the sweater. We stop pulling all the threads in different direction, and we're being like strangled and uncomfortable and upset about it. So the more of us stop doing that and instead turn that attention in here to find out, what is it in here that engages over there? How can I stop this? Well, you follow that energy back into your body, and then you learn to be present with that energy, with the discomfort, with the anger. So it's instead of putting it out, you just bring it here consciously, and then you learn to be present with it in a way that it starts softening. And that softening means that you are not in the sweater as much. So the sweater gets weaker. Like more people pull out of it. And then there's less of this going on. And then other people may realize, oh yeah, so more and more people are going to pull out, and eventually the sweater, there's nobody wearing the sweater anymore. I don't know when that's going to happen, but let's say enough people are not in the sweater anymore that the people who are left in there, it's not going to be a big deal because it doesn't have that same charge like it did before. So this is what I see happening. You may have a very different experience, and that's totally great. Feel free to share. If you have another, really expansive experience and clarity about what is going on in the world. But it all comes down to us going back and letting go in whatever way works, in whatever way you have learned. And then at some point, like when you really let go or surrender, you may need some kind of an outside support. That could be through prayer. When you really have learned to surrender to something bigger than yourself. It could mean you need another person, a teacher, a therapist, a coach, a healer, whatever, to help you be with this so that you can let it go. And I always invite you, if you want to check that out with me, you're welcome to, but it might be, you might already have somebody. Doesn't have to be me, but it could be me. I just want to put it out. If you don't have somebody, you can check out my work. And then, so that is when you allow the bigger energies to take over, right? That's real prayer or surrender, where you realize, like, of my own self, I can do nothing. So you surrender. And that's hard because we're so used to doing it ourselves, right? The mind's like, no, I'll do it. I've done it forever. So that is a battle for a lot of people, but that is the work. And it's going to take as long as it's going to take. But then at some point, that is when we really start letting go. And then we start realizing that then we are becoming the new paradigm that we all long for. And I can tell you in my experience is that the more this just dissolves, and I have zero interest in it anymore. It's just too crazy. Like, why would I waste my time on that? So the more I don't engage, what I'm realizing, what is left is just love. Just love. So it's surrendering to love and then allowing love to do what it knows, which is love. So when you do something, You're not doing something to get somewhere or to get something or whatever. You're doing it because you love. And that can look in many different ways. I don't know what it's going to look like for you. I know what it looks like for me when it happens, where there's just love. I'm just not going to go and engage in the veil anymore, in the matrix. I want to stay here and allow love to fill me up, to live my life, to express itself. And so the more I'm just staying connected here, love moves. And, it can be anything. It can really be anything. And that's where we need to learn to trust and keep surrendering. We keep surrendering to love. It can be helpful, sometimes with people meditating together, praying together, where it kind of lifts us out, or it creates more space between who we are and that skin layer of the veil. So that can be very helpful if you have, a group of people or one person you pray or meditate with. Let it lift you up and out of it, this veil. And then you start realizing what is here, what was always here, what is already here. And that is my invitation for you today, my friends. Please like, subscribe, comment. I would love to hear if you have something to share about this subject today. And I will see you next time. Thank you.